Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin, and my guest this morning is Professor Tunde Samuel. Professor Samuel, as you know probably by now, is Pro-Chancellor, University of Oye Ekiti in Ekiti State. Prof, we're delighted to have you, as always. Prof, no doubt you've been observing, what's been going on, and I suppose the other big thing is labor and negotiations, ongoing negotiations with government. Labour has suspended the strike for now, in the sense that the meeting that they hoped would have been concluded yesterday was not concluded, and so they continue today amidst admonitions by the Minister of Labour, Dr. Ngige, that look, I'm for everybody. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm for Labour. I'm for government. That's why I was just reading that he was even taking it well that there's not been any walkout, no walkout. So that shows that we're moving along. But then again, most people, we had this program, we talked about labor yesterday, and the point was made that, the 30,000 minimum wage is already a done deal. That is not the issue at all. That's done. It's the consequential adjustments that are wahala. In fact, Lagos, I was saying yesterday that two states, Kaduna, followed by Ekiti, have already done it. I'm reading that Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State says that we can even pay more than 30,000 if required, but we're not going to move before negotiations are concluded. Now, Prof, I suppose I must get your perspective on this whole thing. How doable is labor's demand?
First and foremost, let me seize this opportunity to commend my colleagues at the 2014 National Conference for blocking the creation of 16 additional states at the National Conference.
16 more states?
Yes, to make it 64.
That was one of the proposals at the 2014 conference.
It was blocked out even after the second reading in plenary. So I have to commend patriotic Nigerians at the National Conference in 2014, because I can imagine the amount of labor turbulence that will occur now
if we had those 64 states.
64 states. That's point number one. Point number two, I have to go back to my irreconcilable position on the issue of operating through federalism.
Okay.
The United States of America, you don't have all of them kept in a single line for policies in the US. Iowa, if it were to be in the United States, Iowa may be ready to pay more than 30,000 naira. Mississippi, Chicago, Illinois, name it. Because they practice true federalism. Each one according to its financial capability. We cannot continue to scratch this issue because we still continue to scratch the issue of true federalism. And problems will continue to occur. Each state is to decide. The federal government is not to dictate wages in a truly federal country. But because of the tinkering with the concept, which I mentioned earlier, we have tinkered with the concept of true federalism, which I've said several times, is anchored on the melting pot and the salad bowl. You look at your financial muscle to determine what you are going to do in a true federal country. It's not the problem. The federal government cannot continue to be the brother's keeper. It's not possible.
Even though it has swung to the rescue, on more than one occasion, but that's an unsatisfactory state of affairs.
Yes. So, as long as we don't allow true federalism to operate, we'll continue to come back to this problem. So that's point number one.
Well, actually, it's two.
Or number two.
Because
now, My take is that workers are entitled to a fair pay, depending on my definition of the word fair and who is saying it. Because fair on the part of labor may not be fair on the part of federal government or the states. It will depend on the financial muscle of each and all the 36 states of the federation. We must come to terms with this reality as from today. Workers must be given a fair pay. But fair pay will depend on what is available to each of the 36 states of the federation. Because as long as we continue to dodge that aspect of the logic, we will always be in problem. So I'm in agreement that fair pay is a necessity for workers. But it will depend on each and all the 36 states' ability to implement that fair pay.
Okay. Now, that's my take. Well, thank you, Prof, for bringing the conversation back in a sort of way to the issue of federalism. Yes. And as long as we're not confronting that and dealing with it in a forthright manner, then I can see what you said, that, look, if there had not been blockages at the time, democratic blockages to the proposal to add more states so that we'd have a total of 64. Yes. And you're saying that, look, it should depend, this kind of an issue should depend on the ability of each state to pay. Now, 64 states would have had a much, it would have been crazier than this.
A lot of political turbulence.
Now, however, the problem with federalism, from the point of view of workers in this kind of a case, is that, look, we've just heard Sanwo-Olu of Lagos, Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos, say that in our state we can even afford to pay more than 13. I don't know, maybe sustainability is another leg of the conversation. But there are states that cannot even afford that 30. And yet, they would say that we are in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We're all one. And, one man, one vote. I have a right, the same right the man in Lagos, Zamfara has, is the same right that a man in Anambra. That's the way the logic is going to be. How do we come out of this quagmire? Because your salad bowl principle that, you've regaled us with, that we become used to it on the program now. Everybody, as I remember the analogy at the time, is that you can only serve yourself according to your known contribution to the salad bowl.
Yes.
Now, there are those that can't contribute as well as others. Are they to go hungrier? Are we now to be perpetually thinner, like deliverance pastors, who are continually fasting and therefore are known to have a trim shape?
My answer to that is very simple. The melting pot symbolizes unity in diversity.
Okay.
The salad bowl symbolizes diversity in unity. There's unity in diversity, but the salad bowl says that unity in diversity must have diversity in unity too.
Well, explain the diversity in unity bit.
The diversity in unity is that though we are a federation of a type, but that federation must be defined within the true concept of the word. Each state to grow according to its capability, its financial muscle, and name it.
Which is very uncomfortable to a number of states. That very idea is very uncomfortable.
That's why we are still tinkering. We are tinkering with the concept.
Simply because it is uncomfortable as a concept.
I've said it times without number.
Even up to the leaders, of those states, they're never comfortable once you start talking about federalism.
They will not. They will not, because we did not start this concept properly from the onset. That's the problem. So there's no way you have unity in diversity and you don't have diversity in unity.
Well,
it's not possible.
ultimately, this conversation will definitely transcend even the narrow labor focus, crucially important as it is. After all, what is more important than human beings?
Yes.
But it's one of those problems that, because once they talk about what is that other thing that we need to reform, that we need to restructure.
Yeah.
Now, how close a concept is restructuring to the federalism or lack thereof that we're talking about?
The failure of us to practice true federalism has led to restructuring. So to me,
Has led to the conversation on restructuring.
which is obnoxious.
Which is, I was going to say that, and that is not going anywhere fast.
That's why it cannot.
So are we therefore stuck
Already.
with perpetual motion, perpetual motion but no movement?
Already, we are because we know the rising. We cannot be practicing tainted federalism. It's either we are practicing federalism or we are practicing unitarism.
Mm-hmm.
There's no midpoint for us for either of the two. We either take one of the two. We are not practicing true federalism, and we are not even practicing unitarism again because we are no longer in a military rule.
How forthright can one be in a conversation like this in the public space? By which I mean, take your party, the ruling party, for instance.
Yeah.
It's a known, it's a progressive, so none of the ideas that you've expressed will be strange to the party. However, I'm not sure how forthright even the ruling party can be when there's an election cycle on the horizon. As you know, since I've also heard politics is a game of numbers, you don't really want to be saying in your campaign that which will alienate, the very, very numbers that you need. Is that a big problem?
What's the big problem now? I can't get the question.
Okay. We're talking about, go back to the salad bowl and the principle of melting pot. And now, if you talk about that too, shall we say clearly, there are those that will feel that, at the end of all of this, based on a principle of fairness, we won't be getting as much as probably maybe we're getting now, for example.
That's not a problem for any political party. It is not the creation of any party. The problem we have is that the federal government has over-pampered the states over time. The federal government has given all the states false confidence in terms of financial muscle. If we had started the way it should be from day one, every person according to its capability.
How far back does this problem go? Does it go back to the Awolowo time?
No. The problem we have now is that majority of the 36 states of the Federation are not ready to look inwards seriously to energize their financial muscles.
And that's the spoiling part, that you say the federal government has been spoiling people who have not been working as hard as they could have been working.
Yes, and let me give you a very good example. When Asiwaju became governor, our internally generated revenue was around 600 million. Before we left office in 2000.
You're talking about Asiwaju Bola Ahmed
Tinubu, yes.
national leader,
national leader of the
APC,
party.
and, one-time governor of Lagos.
Lagos State. Lagos State is an economic mongrel now in Africa because of the foundation Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu laid between 1999 and 2007.
So from a 600
million to over 30 billion today, as I am talking to you, from 600 million to over 30 billion. As of today, look at the gigantic rise in internally generated. That is the secret of true federalism.
Okay.
If you cannot look inward, then don't complain if other states are performing better. He laid the foundation. Governor Jide Sanwo-Olu is now talking of his ability to pay more than 30. That is possible because Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as the governor, provided sound macroeconomic stability for 7 years for the takeoff. Without sound macroeconomic stability laid by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu between 1999 and 2007.
In Lagos State?
Yes, we cannot be talking of rugged financial muscle. It is our rugged financial muscle that is giving us the pride to tell the whole world that we can pay more than 30,000 naira per month. That is the secret. If somebody has not laid the foundation for increasing from 600 million to over 30 billion, Governor Sanwo-Olu will not be talking that. Will not be saying it today. So that is what other states of the federation should emulate. You need purposeful leadership.
And every state has its own area of comparative strength.
We are not taking advantage of those comparative strengths. Minerals are dotted all over the 30 states of the federation. Minerals.
And so, your theory, Prof, is that because of this state of affairs, Lagos State, for example, that we're talking about now, no one is an island. But just talking about Lagos State, you're seeing that, yeah, Governor Sanwo-Olu did say that they don't have a problem with 30,000, but no state has a problem with 30,000. But maybe what he did not say was the consequential adjustment too. He doesn't see how there will be a problem once it is agreed, and that's probably, you know, is.
I presume His Excellency would have tinkered with the financial arithmetic of the state before making that statement.
Yeah, before. Well, all he did say was that we can even pay more than 30,000, but he didn't say how much more than 30,000, and 30,000 is already a done deal anyhow. But the one that is causing contention now in labor is that the consequential issue,
which is likely to create some problem. You see, because it's not possible for a level 1 person now with 30,000 naira
minimum wage
to earn more than a level 4. Let me tell you the political arithmetic of consequential increase. We will be looking for anarchy. My main problem now is the overall quantitative impact of consequential adjustment.
You don't think it's sustainable?
From one state to the other. I will not absolutize that it's not sustainable. I will not. But it's not all that the 36 states that will have the financial muscle. And I would probably
sorry, sir. Yeah.
I would probably advise for caution, because for every good thing, you have a negative effect too. In dealing with consequential adjustment, I want government to be very careful about downsizing, because it is going to bring.
Nobody's talking about downsizing. Nobody is mentioning downsizing.
I know.
But you're saying it could be a consequence.
It could be
of what we're talking about.
When you look at the cumulative effect of consequential adjustment, you will see that the federal government has been very cautious in making definitive statement on this matter. It has to do the computation of the financial implications first, and look at the quantitative implications.
And then present this openly to whoever is.
It will be foolhardy for government to make a pronouncement without knowing what it's going to cost the federal and state government. Well, the issue of consequential adjustment.
and whether it can be sustained.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. George. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to the elder statesman there.
Thank you.
Uncle Yori, I need to remind the special guest here that when federalism worked in Nigeria, we had statesmen as our founding fathers who made it to work. Mm-hmm. Do we still have statesmen today? Are we going to collapse some states and make it either the former 3 regions or the current 6 geopolitical zones and convert them to regions? Look at the level of corruption that has pervaded our society. Mm. Does he still think that if you say a state like, I don't want to mention particular states, that are not economically viable now, will be able to sustain themselves if they do not get anything from the center? What will happen to those where our main resources are tapped right now? Won't they be making some demands that can bring socioeconomic disorder? That, after all, our resources that we are using is from our place. Why are you taking so much from our place to take to the other place, since they also have the potential to explore their own areas? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't there be some problem in implementing the policy? I agree that states need to be hardworking, to be able to generate their own income and make sure that they are viable. But what is even being given to them now from the federal court is enough for them to be viable if corruption is not there. Corruption, I believe, is what we should first address before we talk about, regionalism. Ethnicity has already, collapsed our decency in the system. People talk about where you come from instead of service. Are we going to automatically eradicate that from our system now? At the stage it is, we have to be realistic. Much as federalism is desirable, I doubt if we can have the efficacy of a clean implementation.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George.
Let me react to that. The last caller.
Yes.
He made a validly pertinent point. The federal government has taken over the resources of the states. Because I posited earlier on that all states should look inward. Mm-hmm. If they are going to look inwards, given its narrative, the federal government should also practice true federalism. The states are to explore and exploit resources in their states of origin and then pay tax. The states are to pay tax to the federal government accruable from minerals from all the states. Not that the federal government will take over those minerals. We got it wrong there. And I agree with him 100%. That's another aberration in the area of true federalism. The federal government should allow the states to go and look inwards for resources. It should not take over resources from the states and then be saying another thing. No. The federal government has a problem there. That has to stop.
Unfortunately, as you know, we're all monolithic, and he didn't mention it, but oil, petroleum is key. And everybody is making a claim that, we're all in the Federal Republic, and therefore I have my share. And he was making the point that, look, so one can understand the outcry that, look, you're taking so much from here, and you're taking it over there. What are we getting out of it? So it looks like this is one complex situation that we are not yet ready to confront. which is where you started from.
Yes.
Could I, just before you come in, Prof, Farouk has called in from Maryland. Good morning, Mr. Farouk. Well, I thought you were.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Yeah, good morning. I appreciate the way the elderly man, the lecturer,
Professor Samuel.
is talking. I like that. Yes. It's a good idea for all states to have their own internal generation. But I believe people will like to come to Lagos again because Bola Tinubu, like you said, have restructured the system and everything about the economy of Lagos State. That is why we that knows what is happening in Lagos knows that even if a primary 6 student, a primary 5 student is made the governor of Lagos State today, he will not fail. Without selfish interest, he will know where to start from and where to end it up. But the problem we are having is that other states are not trying to copy Lagos, or they are not trying to emulate Lagos State by having what they have got. Everybody cannot be a teacher. That is the problem. In other states, people are just trying to go there, look from what the federal government is giving to them, then go back and sit down in their house and claim that they are leaders. But they are not trying to look at the problem of the state and bring it back. Labour cannot be fighting for 19% for people or 11% for people that 30,000, like they said, it's okay. 30,000 is 30,000. Let us go back. Whatever you have as a resource in your state, try and arrange it. Make it to satisfy your workers. If you are not earning much, you know that what you will be given to them as bonus should be meager. But they are trying to say that, okay, Port Harcourt, Lagos State, what they are going to. No, you are not having that idea. They should be considerate.
Okay.
We are complaining about the economy. Let us be considerate within ourselves. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Farouk, for calling in. And I've got to hurry off on a break, but don't go anywhere, please. We'll be right back, and there'll be no more breaks after that. Stay with us. Welcome back. Professor Tunde Samuel, Pro-Chancellor, University of Oye-Ekiti in Ekiti State, still with us. And actually, we're talking about the Labour having lifted the, the idea of striking for the moment while, negotiations continue. But then we've been looking at it and what the whole matter of the consequential adjustment that is going to be necessary. How sustainable is that going to be? And we've had quite a number of ideas since we began the program. It always will be like this once we're talking labor. Everybody's concerned. Now, when Mr. George called in earlier, I think he was wondering whether, look, regionalism worked at a certain time. Could I just ask you, Prof? He said that inter alia. Would you consider that as a possibility in this maybe intellectual discussion that we're having?
Well, it's not likely to work
anymore.
Yeah.
But it worked in the past.
It worked in the past because we have leaders with strong character.
Who were statesmen, as he said.
Yes. Leaders of strong character.
This goes back to the Ahmadu Bellos, the Awolowas, the Nnamdi Azikiwes.
They are all national heroes. Chief Obafemi Awolowo was able to develop the Western region from the process of cocoa, WNTV, WNBS, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, name it, Ibadan Polytechnic. It's because they are nationally patriotic.
Okay.
Which most of our leaders don't have now. I referred to Lagos as a reference point earlier for two reasons. Lagos has been blessed with leaders of strong character. Those who know why they are in government.
Okay.
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 1999 knew why he was in government and what he should do for posterity.
Well, I suppose everybody
to remember him.
But everybody knew what they were doing in government. Maybe ability, as we say locally, ability, so to speak. But in the moment, I'll come back to this point. I don't want to keep Mazi Okoroa for waiting too long. I might lose him. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, sir.
Prof, anytime Prof speaks, I say, yes, sir, these are old school, and please, when they talk, the site is shaking. Prof, you say, let's look at these 2 things. There are 2 major factors that is affecting this issue of salary. You call it economic corruption and political corruption. At least you are a political scientist when we talk about political corruption. Prof, you see, suspending the strike or not suspending the strike is not the issue. What we should be looking at is just one issue, is that if states per se are not enhancing their natural resources and making use of it to be able to generate that to have what we call increase in their internal generating fund, all this issue of strike or no strike will not come up.
Yes.
And the issue of minimum wage of 30,000 naira will not come up. But the question now is, what's the way forward? You sit down, collect money from Abuja, increase the number of cars in the government house and the commissioners, and does this solve the problem? It doesn't. Now, people are talking about agric. But people are complaining about the closure of the border. So people are saying, these are not the issues, because if we have at least every 3 square meal on everybody's table, people will not be shouting increase salary or not increase salary. That at least you have accessible to school, everybody at least minimum, at least you get your SSA and go to university. When you come out, you are self-employed. Will not be. Now look at China. As we are talking about China, let me just say something. You see, China celebrated 70 years of independence. Nigeria celebrated 59 years of independence. The same day with China, 1st October. Now, if you see the difference between China and Nigeria, it's just 11 years difference. Now, we are 59 and they are 70. Now, can you compare the economic situation in China and Nigeria? See the difference. Now, because of these 2 political forces, which are just economic corruption and political corruption, if we look into it and solve this problem, it will not. Every day, we shouting that increase salary. Increase salary is not the situation. Even to increase salary and all those variables are not available, there is no way the salary can cope. Nigerian universities, what is happening now? You give money to university, at least you are a professor of the university. Go back to that university where they gave you and see that whether the money they sent to school, whether they are used it to bring out the facilities for the students. Go back when you finish, just go and check. These are the issues. At least, if a student leaves university, at least if you properly equipped, you be independent and stop carrying fire and be going to look for work. The area we look inwards, government, federal, state, and local government, that their resources, the better for us. Increment or no increment does not solve. Thank God they say suspended. We pray that will come out of it so that the salary of 30,000 naira will not go and buy a bag of rice of 27,000 naira. They will come and look for tomatoes and onions. Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okoroa. So we started off with talking about labor and negotiations and suspending the strike, but it's quickly becoming, as people are widening the conversation, that look, labor, you started it off by saying that look, we got it wrong, and the things that we're talking about now. You know, federalism. Yeah, it's like it's an indispensable part of our coming out of this cul-de-sac.
It is.
Otherwise, we're going to be now. People have tied that to corruption as well.
Yes,
that's another conversation that we have ongoing, and that government is working on. EFCC is fighting hell for leather. I don't know what progress we're making, because ultimately, you know, I don't know, you know the way people are. People will say that, well, yeah, we know government, it's a major pillar of this government, but still we haven't seen much to show, apart from evidence of people are not lazy. But where are the convictions? And of course, somebody's going to throw in the rule of law right in there. So we understand the wheels of justice grind slowly. You got to prove, and I don't know. It's short of a revolution, first short of a political revolution. It looks like we're set very much to remain the same for the foreseeable future.
Well, the last
Mazio Korafo.
Yeah. Emphasize the importance of our past national heroes.
Yes.
I want us to take note of the difference between national heroes and political scavengers.
Well, okay. I'm going to have to make a note of that. The difference between national heroes and political scavengers. Because I have Joshua in Irewale, and I don't want to lose him. So I'll return to that point of the conversation. Good morning, Mr. Joshua.
Uncle Yori, thank you very much.
Thank you for calling in.
And I greet Prof. Samuel.
Thank you.
I appreciate him. I'm beginning to think that it would be good for us to have a universal conversation. If we can strike a balance and discuss around a particular something, I think it would be nice for us. I'm going back just shortly to a nation. What I have seen to be the definition of a nation is the notion of universal goodness for everyone. Now, this notion is largely absent in Nigeria. That was what I was trying to say about labor yesterday. We seem to have a labor who is fighting for labor union, like they are fighting for workers, not for the people. They have gotten carried away that all their essence is towards workers. But they are a minority when it comes to the notion of a nation. So maybe we should begin to tinker with the labor union. Can we call them Nigerian Welfare Union? Let them brand themselves as a national body. It's not about what they can fight about or what they cannot fight about. I tell you, there is no law that prohibits them from agitating for the welfare of Nigerians. That's the truth.
Okay, you're referring to the argument yesterday that Labour had to remain within its lane by law.
Beautiful, sir. Beautiful, sir. They don't have a lane. I mean, if we have crisis in a nation, Labour is such a powerful body that they can influence the government positively.
Are they still that? Is it your considered opinion that Labour 2019 is still that?
Sir, they are very myopic. They are like same salary. What concerns you with 30,000? Don't they know what is going on?
Okay.
What is the issue with 30,000? Let them look at the big picture. Start looking at 30,000, money. What is money?
Okay.
When money has failed, what else are you looking at?
Okay, but Mr. Joshua, I believe the Prof started off, I think his very, very first sentence was going back to the 2014 conference, national conference. And yeah, it wasn't the favorite baby of just about everybody, but Prof attended, he was a delegate, and that was an attempt to do what you're saying, wasn't it?
Yeah, they may attempt it. Now, he should help. We should have a conversation around this. I'm saying that there is no absolute advantage.
Okay.
Even the states like Lagos State that has some comparative advantage and rivers and other places, let us go back to the fact that we were a nation before the oil-rich areas became rich.
Okay.
They got the money to develop their so-called oil from cocoa. Nigeria was Nigeria then when they were pushing money to drill their oil. They didn't bring the money out of their pocket. So if we are talking about a nation, we go back to our history, right? That when we were a nation, Cocoa funded the drilling of oil. The pyramid in the north, which is Granite Pyramid, funded what they have as they are calling advantage now in South-South. So, if you look at the dredging of our seaports in Lagos,
Okay.
Did Lagos have land for cocoa? Is it not in Ondo?
All right.
So we
okay.
need to
Mr.
back
Joshua,
to
I got to let go of you. I thank you very much, but it's a bit like these scarce resources that we can't give everybody what they want. We can't give you all the time that you want as well. But thank you very much for contributing. Prof, you were going to make the distinction of the difference between
national heroes and political scavengers.
Yes.
The leaders
and of course, the implication is that today we have scavengers. That's the implication. You never said so.
Our national heroes in the past, the Sardauna of late, Tafawa Balewa, Shiva Bafemi Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, the former governor of Eastern Region, they were national heroes. They had the interests of their regions. All of them were competitive.
Positively competitive.
Very, very. But today, we don't have, except for a handful of our leaders, like Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has laid the foundation for which all of us Lagosians are proud.
And you're not about to carry that back into any region. No, not where development
No,
has
nobody
come.
should go back to region. Lagos State will never accept that. No.
That
because we have a national hero here already.
It might sound jocular, but that sort of harks back to the Oweko Ekolongbe.
And what is anybody's problem about Oweko?
It should be only Lagosians that should limit that to concern themselves. Let me not take it there.
I want us to be very careful. Today, for raising that point, I want to correct an impression.
Okay.
The financial muscle of Lagos State today, over 70% of the resources of Lagos State are spent on the remaining 35 states indigenous. Lagosians don't take up to 30%
Of the
of
revenue
what is
that
generated
they generate
in
internally.
Lagos State.
That is a fact, Prof.
It is, because Asiwaju is a nationalist. He sees Lagos as mini Nigeria. We should accommodate everybody. So when people are talking, Owo Eko Ekolongbe, which area of Eko is Owo staying? I must clarify that these are.
Okay, let me quickly bring Yakub in. Good morning, Yakub.
We are taking care of the 36 states of the Federation in Lagos. Take school enrollment alone. Take employment of teachers and civil servants. Go and conduct a survey.
And everybody's represented.
Yes.
Mr. Yakub, good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, good morning, Kikori. And then good morning to the prof.
How are you?
Fine, sir. Kikori, let me begin by saying that you used the word of complex situation that we found ourselves earlier. Kikori, I quite agree with you. We are really in a complex situation. Why is it so? You cannot compare the cost of living here in Lagos with other states in this country. Why am I saying that? Baba made mention of certain things earlier that every state should be able to take over any resources in their domain. But as it is today, I don't think it is going to be possible because our constitution still remains the way it is. The federal government taps into every resources in every state. I don't believe that this is the time that we need our legislation because they need to amend the constitution. Especially where you have gold, you have coal, you have other remaining resources, you have cocoa, you have oil. And then if you can be able to take over your resources in your previous state, and then pay tax, as Baba said earlier, pay heavily tax
to the federal government. I don't think nobody needs to be agitating 30,000. That is what I said yesterday, but some columnists understand what we are talking about. Because if you're asking for 30,000, I'm still saying it. And then out of that 30,000 naira you are taking, you use every day you use 1,000 naira for your transport to the work because of the deploration of our road and bad road and stuff to say. So if you are the 30,000 naira, it is nothing. It is nothing for me. What they need to do, in fact, they are still continuing their meeting today. If tomorrow we hear the news, I don't think they are going to get anything out of it. Because reason is this: if federal government agree with them, and then agree to pay such amount of money, and then severely some states will find themselves in a quagmire because they will never meet up because they don't control any resources in their various states. So, for me, we are talking about resource control. We are talking about other things. The legislature of we need them. They need to amend our constitution. The two houses. Do we really need the two houses? Those are the things that Baba raised when they were in the national conference that time. So we don't really need the two houses. What happened is this: they should be able to amend our constitution to allow the federal state to control their resources. If they fail to do that, we are never still going to come up every 3 or 4 years or 5 years as case may be, asking for another 30,000 or 50,000 as case may be. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yakub. Well, you see, it goes back to he's touched on restructuring.
Yes.
Because if we're to restructure the entire country, the whole political, economic restructure, I guess, well, you see, that would, the turbulence. Let's face it. You said it. You said that
can't.
government has spoiled, the federal government has spoiled over the decades.
All the 36 states are now spoiled children.
Who now have been put in a position of you got to work for your living.
After spoiling them, you now want them to work for money themselves. And that's not going to be easy.
So it looks like we're stuck. People have related this to why corruption is so impossible to fight. So we're having this conversation because it looks as if Dr. Ngige and the labor leaders are having their conversation and it's all about labor. Yes, it is about labor.
I need to make a comment on Dr. Ngige.
Yes.
His position is very apt because a caller earlier on corroborated Dr. Ngige about the posture of labor. In the last 8-10 years, labor has shifted from looking for the welfare of members to putting himself as power within power.
This is going back to the days of Alhaji Hassan Somonu and...
that was why Ngige's, that's why I'm in agreement with Dr. Ngige's reaction, that government cannot be intimidated.
Yes.
Because labor is coming up with a new posture now in the last 8-10 years as power within power.
So that's another aspect to it that, of course, is not spoken of.
It can be annoying to the federal or state governments.
Because the point Ngige was making was that dangling the sort of a strike over the nation is intimidation and it's not allowed. It's not even allowed. The ILO doesn't allow it, and so people should just play by the rules.
I will support labor for life when it comes to fighting for the welfare of workers. But labor cannot intimidate government. We are working together, except labor is telling us that it's not part of Nigeria.
Okay, so this is the power within power.
There cannot be power within power.
And there cannot be that.
There cannot be. It's not possible.
I mean, you see, we were saying yesterday that labor might have seemed to be getting the short end of the stick because people were critical yesterday, and they've continued today. Yakub has just finished saying that he's not sure much is going to come out of it. And there are a number of people that feel like that. Even amongst themselves, labor themselves are saying that it's not going to work. That is to say, a faction.
Yeah.
A faction of labor is saying that it's not going to work because they've left out, according to them, crucial sectors that could make it work. But it's not about making it work. It's about reaching some agreement. And
is there even any logic in the threat? We have to talk first. It is when
all
discussions are deadlocked that we
look at other
intimidation.
methodologies. But sort of dangling it beforehand is what, although Ngige is being very pacifist, he's saying that, look, I'm not for either or. I'm in the middle, I'm a facilitator, I'm on labor side, I'm on government side.
But government cannot be intimidated.
I suppose that's the... quite frankly, there's very little more that can be added to that particular position. So I just want to thank you, Prof, for coming along, and of course...
It's nice being with you.
handling your wisdom and experience to all of these conversations. We wait on Labour because we still want to know what's going on. So we'll wait on them and see if they can finish. But Ngige did warn, I think, before in the lead up to yesterday, that look, we need to be careful, to be nifty with what we're doing, so that, because even as we speak there, now we are hearing that some workers might not be enjoying their Christmas as a result of this whole verification thing, that there are problems in. But that's another matter. This thing must take off in April 2019, and we've already agreed 30%.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, 30,000
naira.
The other part of it now is let's just get sensible about the
We'll wait and see.
We'll wait and see. Thank you very much, Professor Tunde Samuel, for coming on the program. Indeed, that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folani. Bye-bye for now.